two. A 1, 2, 3.
Well, good day. This is Rob Beach from Beach's Motorcycle Adventures coming to you with yet another episode of We're Not Riding Motorcycles Thanks to COVID, and this is Beach's Audio Adventures. It's not nearly as much fun, but we do get to spend some time with some really cool people, like Mike Knott sitting up there in Thunder Bay. I understand the ice has finally melted, Mike.
Yeah, the ice floes have gone out. We watched them the other day. We set off about 12 elderly people. I think they're happy to go.
You guys are still doing that. That's great. That's great. I mean, assisted suicide?
Yeah, it's legal now and everything.
Yeah, they don't push their own ice floes off. You push the ice flow away for them, right?
Yeah, for sure. You have to tie them onto it sometimes, but it's nature taking its course. I'm sitting here. I poured myself Paul Anner beer from Germany. It's a Weiss beer, which I don't normally like wheat beers, but this one, I don't know. I tend to like it. It's almost like having a sandwich with your beer. It's kind of good, but a light sandwich.
Excellent.
Yeah. So I'm sitting here with my beer, and today we're going to be talking to Ed Conde from the New England Writers Association. I don't know if it's association or group, but welcome aboard, Ed.
Great to be here. I have, we can't ride in Italy, but I can drink my Italian red and make vroom vroom sounds.
There you go.
Oh, I'd ask you for your best Ducati imitation, but...
not good. No.
A couple more glasses of wine and we might get that out of them.
I think it's about as good as my Italian, which was not very good last time I was there.
And I guess we should say too, we're still, I guess, well, most of us are still riding. We're just not touring abroad because we're stuck in our own countries or limited to our own countries. Not necessarily stuck, but we're certainly not. We don't have the ability to go on any big tours. But
I think I've covered most every road within a couple hours of Boston since the beginning of this COVID.
Well, you're certainly very lucky because you've got some great ones up there.
Yeah, it's New England's a great area to ride, and we have good riding in most directions as long as you get away from the big cities, and the best riding tends to be in the mountains. So most of us will, during the summer, head up to the White Mountains in New Hampshire, the Green Mountains of Vermont, Adirondacks, Catskills, and out to the Finger Lakes, going out to a Jura area, which is always nice. And we'll get up to Quebec. We have trips scheduled up there, and further south into Pennsylvania, which has some phenomenal riding down in the north central part of the state.
Bonnie and I toured years ago around Lake Placid area and came across some really nice riding, really great roads and scenery, and actually met a group of Canadians sitting in a bar waiting for a table in the restaurant, and met a group of fellow Canadians, and we went out riding the next day. They were big fans of riding in that area, and then plus in some of the areas you were talking about. It's just endless great roads.
Yeah, Lake Placid's a great spot. It's one of our trip locations where we'll get together for 5, 6, 7 days and do rides in all directions. And lots of folks come down from Quebec to enjoy the roads around Lake Placid.
I was kind of surprised when we were there. Maybe it was good timing, or I don't know if it's a common thing, but there really wasn't much for traffic on the roads. We were there end of June. It was very end of June, but they said because school hadn't got out quite yet, so that might have contributed to it. But the roads were empty. It was great.
We schedule all our trips when school is in session. We'll schedule in early June and later in September, and it makes a huge difference.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and plus with the weather too, it should be a little cooler. You're not guaranteed anything, but I know when we travel, we tend to like to do that even in a car or whatever because it's a lot less busier. Hotels are generally cheaper. And
so you talk about scheduling the trips, Ed. You're talking about those scheduled for the New England Riders, which is an organization. How is that made up exactly? You've got a club with no hierarchy and no bosses and no rules. I love it. I absolutely love it. But tell us about that. How does that all work?
Well, we call ourselves an unclub because we don't have any officers or anyone in charge. And we all get together via Facebook to plan rides. Anyone can host a ride. And the group is all types of bikes, all types of riders, which is somewhat unusual. It's not uncommon to see a Ducati sport bike, Harleys, and adventure tourers, and everyone getting along famously. And I think part of that is not having a real structure to it, in which there's a certain way you have to do things. It's a lot more wide open that way, and I like it that way. I don't see any downside to doing that as long as you have good people in the group. And it takes a certain mindset to have all different types of riders and bikes and for everyone to get along. And we all know that the way things have been the last couple of years, getting along can be a bit of a challenge sometimes.
Yeah, it's like something you have to work at times, at one side of the border anyways. But but I hear what you're saying in that. I know as a firefighter, I belong to the International Association of Firefighters, and they years ago came up with they're going to have a motorcycle group. They put in their magazine, this new group they're going to have, and it said right in there it was primarily for American-made motorcycles, but everybody was welcome. Right?
Yeah. I see that a lot. Yes, and it's a Vulcan group, but you could ride whatever you want, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, sort of, but yeah, it doesn't.
As long as you keep to the back of the group with whatever.
Yeah. Out of sight, yeah.
Divert your gaze. Just you're not allowed to look at anybody straight in the eye unless you're addressed to first, and then everything will be fine.
One of the things that I find so fascinating about traveling in Europe and New Zealand as well is the same way, is that a motorcyclist is a motorcyclist first and a brand owner second. And the groups that I see traveling around with one another are far more routinely totally mixed like your group is. And it's so refreshing because the bottom line is we're all riding motorcycles for the same reason. It's to make us smile, to get some excitement in our lives, to get the wind in our hair, or whether that's your chest hair or your forehead hair, who knows. It can and should work that way. I mean, that's really neat. That's one of the things that drew me to your club as I was poking around, was just the masthead. Hey, there aren't any rules here. There's no hierarchy. There's no I'm better than you are, and you ride in the back of the group because you're not on the Vulcan, Harley, GS, whatever it happens to be. And with the 12,000 members I see there on Facebook, wow. I'm looking at people that I know who have quite a variety of interests motorcycling wise, and certainly professionally a huge variety of folk, and that's really, really neat.
Yeah, we like it that way a lot because you tend to meet a lot of different types of people. And I think we can all learn from other people with what they ride and what their backgrounds are. But just to keep it safe, we do have a no politics policy of the group, which does tend to keep things pretty nice. And that's really our only requirement, is just be nice. I mean, just treat other people well and with respect, and you're a New England rider.
When Bonnie and I used to go camping, there was kind of not really a rule, but kind of an unwritten rule. If you wanted to be safe around the campfire all the time, you should not talk about two things: child rearing and politics. And then you're probably
that's
okay.
Good advice. Excellent advice. And it works that way in the group too. And, yeah. It doesn't work for everybody. Some people really like things to be a certain way, and they come to our group and they don't like that it's not like what they're used to, and which is fine. I mean, we don't try to be for everybody.
Right. Well, with 12,000 members, it looks like you actually have quite a nice selection of people that don't think that way, which is cool. One of the issues that always pops up for motorcyclists, particularly people that are fairly new to the game, is how and where do I find people to ride with? I'd like to ride with a couple of people. I don't want a big group. I'm not interested in going to Daytona or Sturgis and being part of the mob, but boy, it sure would be nice to have a couple of people to take a weekend tour or even a day ride. And with the New England Riders, you certainly have that possibility to make that connection with people that are out riding regularly, don't you?
Yes, and that can have some challenges of its own, because you have different people with different experience levels that like different pace riding. And so in general, instead of having a big group ride with a lot of people in a single group, we'll take a ride where we have 60 people and break it down into 12 groups of 5. And we'll do that with usually with GPS. We'll often have calm front and back so we can spread way out. We often do it in single file where you can barely see the rider in front of you. And we also group the groups by pace. You want to ride a little quicker? Here's a quicker group. If you like nice and slow, you got it. And that tends to work pretty well for us because a lot of people feel a little uncomfortable in a big group.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Especially with people, if a lot of them are new to them. I know sometimes I felt that way a bit. If I don't know the person behind me much at all, his riding habits or anything, I'm not sure nervous of them, just you don't know. So I understand people are more nervous of that stuff. I'm usually not nervous of much of anything. But if you were, that would be something. People do different things. We have all levels of skill of driving and riding out there. So
I think we've all seen someone get hit from behind by another bike. And yes, it can be a bit of a challenge.
Yeah, or even, I don't know how many times I've been riding on the motorcycle and I see the deer 2 bikes ahead of me. I'm braking before they are. It's like, kind of, what are you looking at?
Absolutely.
Yep.
And the deer and the critters, that's one thing that worries me when I'm out there.
Yeah, I guess, yeah, certainly a large amount of deer where you are.
Yes.
So is the New England Riders limited to people that live in New England?
Oh, no. We have riders. We actually have a lot of riders from down in the Appalachians. And we also have riders from all over Canada. We have riders from out west, Arizona, California. We also have had a number of Europeans come over and join us for our trips. So we have members from Germany, from the UK, and a few from France that have been active in the group. We had one French rider translate our big agenda to learn how to do base camp and do navigation, which was awfully nice. So that's being used over in France now, which I think is pretty cool.
Uh-huh. And it could be also used in Quebec.
Absolutely. And it might even work a little better because they have the North American map set just like we do.
Yeah. Excellent.
So how does that work then? If tell us a bit about how your group works. So I'm in Germany. I'm coming over. You just go to the Facebook page and see where you're headed that weekend.
Right, and it's if they're coming over for that something where they're meeting us, it's usually for one of our big trips, and these trips they take about 2 years to put together. They usually have about 10 to 12 rides each. So we'll start out often in the car, just going and searching a lot of the roads that we like in the area, and we'll put together some rides and then just scout them out. And usually I'll ride a ride and make changes to it. And so usually it goes through 5, 6, 7 iterations before we're really happy with it. And rides will be in all directions, and we'll have some group meals, and people will ride together, and we've made some great friends that way. People after riding, it's you know how it is. You ride together, you become friends. It's just great the way that works out. So we have a lot of folks that we keep in contact with from all over the country and different countries just from these trips.
And how do you find that in North America? We're arranging some of these are larger tours. So how receptive are organizations?
These sell out at least a year ahead of time. Every trip is sold out since 2006 or so, and usually I'll put it up a year ahead of time, and it's sold out within a week to 10 days. And word has gotten out. It's a lot of fun here. I've been keeping track of roads for many years. I'm a road geek. I really like good roads and good scenery. And I started out highlighting maps many years ago, and then went to Streets and Trips, Map Source, and now Basecamp. And over the years, I have filled up an Eastern United States map. So I usually start with that and create a route with that, and then I'll go ride it. And invariably, you find something that just doesn't work. And so I'll have some alternate roads I'll mix in until I'm happy with it. And then add stops every 90 minutes or so. Of course, you need a good food stop for lunch. And it's just... my wife and I will go do these during scouting trips, and we've had some of our great rides together. My wife rides also, and we've had some great trips together just scouting for NER trips.
It's
so by the time we go there, it feels like, deja vu.
And I'll point out that the efforts that you've made to maintain that database and information on the roads is available to club members all the time on the Facebook pages, that you've actually got all of that stuff, not necessarily for the upcoming ride, but all of that information is there as GPS routes and waypoints, etc., with an incredible collection.
We cover roads, rides, views, restaurants, attractions, hotels, campgrounds, dirt roads from Newfoundland to Alabama. It's started with doing day rides around the Boston area. And then these trips have really been very helpful because all the scouting of these trips, eventually the trips all kind of merged. And you have all areas overlapping. I still need a little bit out by Niagara Falls, though. I mean, I don't know if you know anyone that might be able to help me with that.
Pretty good, really.
And then once that was all filled, we started doing it down south, and we just gradually did trips down the Appalachians until we had that area filled in too. The idea was any area that a rider would really like to ride in the east, we tried to cover.
Interesting. And the routes that you've got online, is there a hierarchy of good, better, best? Is it simply, if you're interested in going to Lake George or Valley Forge or Oneonta, here's a route? How does that all work out?
That's a great question. When I got started in this, I saw a lot of the other sites, motorcycleroads.com and motorcycleroads.us, in which it was road after road after road, and it just it didn't mean anything after a while because there was just so much information there that it really was hard to tell what was really good and what wasn't. Mm-hmm. So from the very beginning, the whole idea behind the site was that only the very best will be listed. So each state, each region has only a certain amount of roads that we will have in our list. And if you want to add one, you got to remove one. And over the years, that made it so that we were left with only what we felt were the best in a region. And what are we looking for? Curves, scenery. We're looking for very few side streets, driveways, and basically, where you finish a ride, and at the end, everyone's talking about it. And talking about certain roads, talking about places that they saw. And if it doesn't have that, the ride needs to be updated until they do have that. Yeah, I mean, you sure know. So the site is broken up into the best of the Northeast. And for the best of the Northeast, it's only what we felt were the very best things to list. And then eventually we did the best of the Appalachians, and we did the best of Canada. We have Quebec, we have Ontario, we have all through Newfoundland. And but we're always looking for new ideas. I mean, most things that people talk about, we do already have. But occasionally a nice gem will be submitted, and we'll always add. I'll usually have someone will submit something, and I'll go ride it. I'll go see what it's like to see if it's worthy of keeping on the site. And it's hard for folks with the roads, unless they've ridden all the others, to know how it compares to the ones that are already on the list.
Yeah.
And I don't want someone to ride one of the roads, get to the end, and go, "That's it." So I'm hoping that people will really enjoy what we have up there.
Do you find you're still adding roads? Of course, the trend for a lot of cities and that is to straighten things out for the car drivers. They want it straight as possible and as wide as possible. So are you still finding those roads, or are you kind of taking more off?
I added 3 rides today, and up along the southern tier of Connecticut. So yes, it's until I feel like all the areas are covered to the best of the ability, I'll try to keep at it. Yes, stuff is put on and taken off the website all the time, and it is a definite process in which if we don't feel that something measures up anymore. I mean, that happens a lot with restaurants. Sometimes they change ownership and they're just not quite good enough anymore. But with the roads, they do change fairly often, but the rides change all the time. When we go on a trip, it's very rare that if you've been on that trip before, the rides will be exactly the same as they were the time before. And,
amazing. I can appreciate how much time and effort it takes to put all of that stuff together.
I don't think many others do.
No,
but I know you do, because in order to get everything to work just right, it takes a lot of time, a lot of visits, and a lot of tweaking to get it so it feels right. And all the stuff on the website, you don't have to be a member. This is the Bone Road and all the rides has been New England Riders' gift to all other riders. And we have no advertising on the site, and we don't charge anything. Same for trips. You come on one of the trips, it's all gratis. You just pay for your hotel and food. And that's a decision we made years ago just as a way to give back. And it's made it so I think a lot of people have been able to ride some of the best things in the area without that commitment. And there's a lot of folks that are, a little phobic with directions and all, and anything that will help them get out on the road, I think, is pretty good.
Well, I've often said money is a terrible reason to do anything, but sometimes you can get burnout if everybody's doing something gratis. You're working with a volunteer group of people. It can be hard sometimes to keep everybody energized and engaged, but you obviously are.
He uses it as the excuse to go for a ride. We've got to check this out. New roads, we've got to check this out.
Yeah, but that's the easy part. It's the it sounds like the OCD part of of logging it all and everything. Yeah.
Well, it's I was a website illiterate. I had no idea what I was doing. So I started, back in 2009, it was working with Microsoft Front Page, trying to put a website together. And I got everything up there. Everything was available. But over the last couple of years, one of our members, Steve Gallant, has totally redone the website and has made it so it's really looking great and works really well. So I'm very happy with that. That's way beyond my capabilities. I wouldn't have been able to do that myself.
And what is the website address?
It's newenglandriders.org. So just www.newenglandriders, all one word, .org or .com. We have both URLs. They'll both take you there.
I'm sure that this summer there are a lot of people just like me that are looking for an interesting ride somewhere and can't commit to something that's too far away from home or too long. And it's a stunningly thorough and complete resource that you've got there.
It's been a labor of love for many years, and it's been an effort in which the group itself was the culture of the group was started by Bob Fessmeyer that made us so welcoming to everybody. And then as far as the technical stuff, it was, I think, a lot of obsessive compulsiveness getting that done, because I don't know if it would have gotten done otherwise. I think it has to be something really important that you are kind of obsessed with doing, and it became a hobby. It's just something that pretty much every day over the last 11 years, I've worked on the site to try to make it so that I was happy with it. And not there yet. I mean, I still have some time. So I hope I can keep adding to it for a while yet.
Well, I'm very, very, very impressed. And it was actually the thoroughness of what you put together that made me join the club, join the group on Facebook, but then reach out to you and get you here, because it's something that everybody really should be aware of at the very least. And if anybody's going anywhere from the Adirondacks up through Canada, etc., they need to review your site and find out where to go, or how to go. Not where to go, but how to go, because that's what it really boils down to. If you're going here, here's how to go there.
Well, that means a lot for me to hear you say that. I know that you understand what it's like to put routes and rides together and make it so people enjoy them. And it's from beginning to end, each ride and each trip is very time consuming. You know, the good thing is you get to visit a bunch of nice places on your own. And but as you know, when you get back, you kind of want to just bunker down and maybe not go out and do things for a while as well.
Exactly. So what's the next big ride that the New England Riders have coming up?
Well, last year we had 75 events. So we would have one or two every week of the riding season. And COVID's put a bit of a bite on that into that this year. So there's been very few events this year. And we had to cancel our big trip to Lake Placid this past June because of COVID. And that was kind of heartbreaking, because after putting in all the time to not do it was, so maybe sometime in the future we'll visit that area again. The next big trip is September, and we're going to be in Lincoln, New Hampshire, on the famous Kankamagus Highway, in which you go out the hotel, make a left, and you're on the Kank, which is pretty cool.
Are there still openings on that? Should I sign up quick?
Well, it's the hotel is full, but you don't have to stay at the group hotel, or you can be put on a waiting list. But there are plenty of other hotels in the area, and it really doesn't matter where you stay. And we have some people that camp. I mean, it's the group hotel is just an idea. And it's where, you know, people get together during breakfast, they'll hang out and they'll talk where they're going that day. And that's the way a lot of people have met and become friends is, what are you doing today? Mm-hmm. And I'm going out, I'm going to go to the Olympic sites outside Lake Placid and do that ride. And okay, I'll come with you. And that's been going on for a number of years, in which people have made great friendships. And so that's our next trip. And then that's going to be followed by Dutchess Catskill County in New York, which is one of our favorites. And then after that's going to be Stowe, Vermont, which is probably our signature trip. That's one that we do every few years. And we get to do Upper New Hampshire, Vermont, Quebec. It's a great trip.
Excellent. Good stuff on the horizon.
It certainly is. And the whole thing with COVID, we feel lucky that, you know, we've been able to get out on the bikes to relieve some of the stress of being inside all the time. And it really feels wonderful. And being out in the open air, and we'll be bringing our picnic lunch and go sit on a rock by a stream. It's been wonderful. Great year so far.
So Ed, are all your rides, they're all street rides? Do you do any dirt stuff or a bit of adventure off-roady stuff?
We have a number of folks in the group that ride adventure bikes. So we do have part of our site are dirt roads and dirt rides. And every fall we have a dirt foliage ride. And there are some people that ride primarily on dirt. And so there's a subgroup of the group that is getting together and do dirt rides all the time. There's also a sub part of the group that are on the track all the time, where they'll do a majority of their riding on the track. So we got it. All sorts of folks that are riding different things in the group.
Yeah, it really sounds like it. Like you're kind of covering everything, which is great. I don't know how well what the quality of off-road riding is around that area. I know one of the problems in the United States is a lot of the land is privately owned, as opposed to in Canada, it's generally federal land. You can ride it. So,
yeah, unfortunately, around Boston, it's not great. But if you get out into more of the country, out in western Massachusetts, up into New Hampshire and Vermont, it gets much, much nicer. And that's where it's really great to have an adventure bike.
And you said you've gone up to Newfoundland, it sounds like 1 or 2 times. So you've ventured up there,
It's Newfoundland, but also all the other Maritimes as well. And one of our trips is to Charlevoix in Quebec, which is one of our favorites. We really enjoy going through the Charlevoix area, a real foodie stop. And riding along the fjord is really wonderful being up that way. So we try to cover most of the nice riding areas going up that way.
Yeah, really, that's more the area I guess you'd have to head on. Ontario is generally pretty bloody flat.
Right. It's putting rides together for Ontario has been a little bit of a challenge, yes. And we get a lot of folks coming down from Ontario and Quebec to ride Vermont and other parts of New Hampshire and the States. For
sure, yeah. You get people talk about the Niagara Escarpment, and I've been around there in car and motorcycle. It's like, okay, well, 20 minutes later, okay, well that's done. And now what?
Well, I if you have ideas for up that way, I'd love to hear them. That has been a little bit of a struggle for that area, but we cover the Western Finger Lakes pretty well through Letchworth Park and that area, which is stunning. And so we really enjoy that area quite a bit.
Well, this is the first time that I've been here in the motorcycle season in Western New York in 35 years.
Oh, really? So what do you think?
Well, I've got a street bike. It's 45 years old. It comes out of the garage once every week or so, and I don't really go anywhere because the riding here is just, it's not wonderful. That said, 45 minutes from where I live, there's some pretty decent riding. So I will talk to the folks at the local BMW club on your behalf and see, because we've got some people that know the roads here very well, far better than I do. And I'll see if we can get a couple of folk there to put together some suggestions, because there are some neat places here. I mean, Western New York is not a bad place, and Niagara Falls certainly is worth seeing. So we'll see if we can figure out some good ways to get you into the falls and away from the falls.
That would be much appreciated. Thank you.
Because that's a tough part. I know when we rode around there, heading from the falls, getting to where some of the roads were nice, it was, 4 or 5 hours. It was a good jaunt up to near Lake Placid area, I believe. It was a pretty good jaunt to get there. And then we stayed about a week in that area. It's very nice, but man, it was a haul getting there, and which is a lot of North America, a lot of Canada, that to get to where the riding is. And even from our house, we put the motorcycle in the back of the truck and drove for 14 hours, which family member's house, unloaded the bike because it's a haul. Yeah, it's a big country.
We have a lot of folks, a lot of our members from Ontario come down and ride our roads from north central Pennsylvania and southeast Ohio and down in West Virginia, which we cover pretty well. And it's a hike, but it's kind of worth it to go to some of those areas from where you're at.
Yeah, for sure. I know we were talking a couple of podcasts ago about mileage awards, and And that's part of what I don't like about it is that, yeah, I could pound the highway to get to, say, Calgary and go up into the mountains on my motorcycle, and I would hate every single minute of it. Or I could throw in the back of my truck and be comfortable with air conditioning on and do it in a shorter period of time. My wife and I could talk and have a cooler of food and get there. When we get to where the roads are good, unload the bike, leave the stupid vehicle, and away we go. But people who don't mind doing that, and everybody likes something different. If you don't mind hammering the prairies on your motorcycle, well, good for you. I don't like that. So.
We're kindred spirits, but that's our secret. Just between the two.
There was a time when I was young and didn't actually spend a lot of time on the highways that I would look at the trailer queens and think, oh, trailer queen. Well, guess what? I've got a nice trailer right now.
Great trailer.
Steve Gallant, who did our website, and a few others in the group have ridden the Iron Butt Rally, the 11,000 miles in 11 days. And I know I couldn't do that. I tip my cap to them. Yeah. It's wonderful that they have the stamina and all to do that. I just don't think I could do it.
Something I guess it's the way your mind works or whatever. I always look at people who jogging, running long distance, and I've said before, I look at these people as the look on their face is like pain, and my God, I can't wait for this to be over. Whereas I'm more of a game person. I could play, I play squash, so I could play squash and a half for 3 hours, and I'm having a big smile on my face. We're joking, we're having a great time, and I look at people jogging for 2 hours. It's like they're wishing maybe death will, waiting for the sweet release of death to come take them away. What they like differently, they're so long distance riding. It's that's what I think of it as, like, just they're enduring to say they did it.
I think it can be dangerous having too much time to feel the pain. It's better to be active and not think about it and just have it happen.
Good. Well, Ed, it's a great pleasure to be introduced to you and hear your story on your passion and enthusiasm and OCD-ness for putting together the routes. That's really great stuff. And the fact that you've made all of this stuff available to everybody simply because it's the right thing to do, it's just magic.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you. I'd just like to give a hat tip to some of the folks that are involved in running the group. And Bob Fessmeyer, as I've mentioned, ran the group for many years and established a culture which I treasure, in which people are nice and welcoming to each other no matter what their backgrounds are. And Steve Gallant has worked tirelessly on that website. And Mike Woods, Steve Bruning are longtime admins, and Steve is one of our GPS gurus. Greg Nebbia, who runs our photo contest. Every year we put out a calendar. We do a photo contest every month, in which people submit their favorite photos from that month of riding. And this month, I think we have about 60 photos. And the winning photo is featured in the next calendar. And we use the calendar to help support the website. We also sell NER stickers that you see these stickers all over the Northeast. You're on the road and I'll be anywhere, I'll see one of these stickers, I'll go up and a new friend is made. And my wife, Deborah, sells those. And we also have Kate Murphy, who is an admin that is our resident mechanic music person and is a great person to have on board. And I just want to really thank all of those folks for help making NER happen.
I was going to ask about that because even there's expenses involved in maintaining websites and programming, but it sounds like you have a pretty good army of volunteers to take care of that, and then a little bit of fundraising to help out.
Right, just a little bit. We don't keep a huge reserve, but we do have enough where if something happened or if we want to have some door prizes at our holiday party, we can do that, which is nice. Without people, this doesn't happen. Both the folks that run it, trying to keep the bots out of the group, and they're pretty. They could be pretty persistent trying to get in. I think we turned away about half because they're bots.
Really? So why are I don't know much about that stuff, but why would a bot or whatever try and kind of infiltrate or get in?
Usually to put up advertising on the site, or to put up pictures that really aren't very family friendly on the site. And we ask them what type of bike they ride, and if they go okay, we know that okay, that's I don't think you're going to be getting it. It's the folks, not just that are running it, but just the everyday folks, because as you mentioned, everyone is equal and in this together for the group. And unless people are posting rides, events, and participating, then there is no group. And so for that, I'm very thankful, and thankful to all the friends I've made in this group. It's really been terrific.
That's right. So have you done it? Obviously, it sounds like you've crisscrossed certainly a good chunk of the United States, Canada. Have you traveled overseas at all, or down into Mexico, anywhere around there?
Well, Italy, I mean, that's part of the reason I had my nice ripasso here, is that I really have a love for Italy. And it's Switzerland, France, and I haven't been through Germany too much. I mean, based out of Munich, that sounds like a good place to start. And but out west in the U.S., I've traveled quite a bit as well. And but there's so many nice places. I'm really looking forward to riding in a bunch more of them.
Time and money, I always say. There's only so much time and money.
That's right. Absolutely.
And you're usually trading one for the other.
That's right. You meet the greatest people on motorcycles, don't you?
Yes. Yep. Well, it breaks the ice in a way that is difficult in a lot of social situations, because you've got something in common to talk about from the get-go. And that's a nice thing. I can walk up to somebody that I've never met before. I have no idea what their political leanings are, and I can come up with something to talk about. And they can come up with something to talk back to me about, and we can start a conversation and leave it at that, or carry on to whatever level we want. And that's really difficult in America these days, because we're taught to be suspicious of everyone, and strangers are not your friends. And hey, so this guy on a motorcycle, yeah, he probably could be my friend. I haven't met him yet, but let's go see.
It's wonderful. Just don't talk politics.
Yeah, exactly. Well, not now, not in this world. Exactly.
No, absolutely not.
But there's almost some similarities to the motorcyclists, to people live, I think, more so on the East Coast, especially up in the maritime provinces, when you get deep into those places, because a lot of life there was very, very difficult. And it seems like the people you meet there are just the most friendliest. They'll give you literally the shirt off their back to help you out. And I think, this is from my great expertise in the maritime provinces, because life is tough there, and you can't just simply make it on your own. A lot of times everybody's got to work together. The winters are tough. Life is tough. We have hurricanes. You have snowstorms that come dump 10 feet of snow on you in a week or a day. So you really need to work together. And that's not so dissimilar to motorcycles. Motorcycles are getting a lot better, more reliable, but that was a lot more of it. You only have what you have on the bike. You don't have a car full of tools. You don't have a trailer that you stay in. So motorcyclists tend to be, it seemed like, a little more friendly, because we need to rely on each other a little bit. When your bike's broken down on the side, you probably don't, you're stuck, right? You don't have a spare tire. You don't have anything. So it seems like people are more open to another person stopping. Hey, what's up? And motorcyclists tend to be more open to stopping. Are you okay? Is everything cool? Thumbs up, thumbs down. Are you good? Okay. Because we've often been in that situation.
It's been rare that I've stopped on the side of the road and someone on a bike hasn't come up to make sure that I was doing okay. Yep. And I've shared your experiences in the Maritimes. Great people. And I find them incredibly friendly up there as well.
Well, I've stopped here back when it used to get really cold. I mean, traveling about 4 hours north of here, and there was a car stopped on the side of the road. It was minus 30, 35 Celsius. And you stop because this vehicle is broken down. If these people are really broken down, it's pretty cold. Like, they can't survive out here that long. You stop. Is everything cold or everything okay? And it wasn't. I ended up giving them a ride somewhere. So their vehicle broke. I don't remember why, but it's what you do.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think as riders, we really have that bond with each other where we're even more inclined to do things like that for each other, which is wonderful.
Ideally and hopefully.
Yes, maybe we can be an example for some of the rest of the country.
Yes, exactly. It is interesting because some of the members of your club are people that are clients of mine. We don't all share the same political ideas, and sometimes we get in other forums into some discussions, and it's not hacking each other's heads off. It's, I'm looking forward to getting together with you somewhere and being able to talk about this over a beer. And there's still a different level of connection that's made because we can both appreciate the pluses of, hey, we just got done with that really twisty road and had a great time and a great ride and great views, and wasn't that cool? Yeah, it sure was. And so, hey, this person isn't all that different than I am, and they're not entirely useless. So there are some plus sides to that too. But
so when he says, I think you should change your oil every 6,000 kilometers instead of 5. My God, what the hell is wrong with you?
What kind of oil?
You're bringing up the oil question again. Huh? That's always good for 347 posts.
That's
the psychopath wants you semi-synthetic. What the hell is going on with him?
Oh man! So for those of you that are listening on your members of Facebook, you'll find the New England Riders Group. It's a public group. Just search for that and check them out. It's a great, great resource with a bunch of great people besides. And on the web, it's newenglandriders.org. Ed, it's been great to talk to you today. We really.
Wait a minute. We haven't done the lightning round yet.
Oh my gosh! See, that's the thunderstorms are out near you. That's why you were aware of the lightning round. I'm just sitting here sweltering under a heat dome. So take it away, Mike, with the lightning round. You've got something.
I'm in the basement with the AC on, so I'm still with it. Okay, so we had lightning round. So first thing that comes to mind, generally what we do here, mountains or ocean?
Mountains.
Favorite motorcycle book or movie?
World's Fastest Indian.
Ah, cool. Spring or fall riding?
Fall.
Clam chowder or fish cakes?
I'll go with the fish cakes.
I would too. I have a shellfish allergy. Do you follow an adventure tour?
One Man Caravan. I don't know if you've heard of that.
Heard of it. I haven't checked it out. Red Sox or White Sox?
Oh, I'll take the White Sox. I grew up in New York.
Burger or pizza?
Ooh, that's a tough one. I'll go with pizza, though.
Ginger or Marianne?
Marianne, a little more down to earth, I think.
Yeah, I think that's a wise choice. Elevator or hike up at Whiteface Mountain?
I think we got to hike up. I mean, it's the views you get going up. It's a little scary, but you got to do it.
Yeah, I agree with you. Favorite motorcycle podcast?
Oh, I think Rob and Mike have it covered. I can't imagine anything that is anything close. And
see there.
That's right.
Well, there you go. See, you will see this podcast as a public release now.
Well, okay. See, it's settled, which is wonderful. And I want to thank you both. You've made it very easy and very enjoyable.
Yeah, it was good fun.
Yeah, very, very much so. Very much so. Good. And then, Ed, so you say the hotel's sold out, but if I just look on a map somewhere and find that hotel and find something in the vicinity, I can get some room somewhere?
Yes, and I have some alternate sites on the website if you're looking. And so right across the street, there's a nice place to stay.
Okay, and is there a campground that's close enough that it's convenient to the central hotel, or is it some distance away?
No, we list a couple campgrounds as well, so you should be all set if you want to camp. And that's actually a terrific area to camp.
Really not sure, but it sounds like I better book something and make a commitment or I'll be SOL.
Well, for our hotel, perhaps, but for others in the area, it's not quite foliage season yet, so I think you'd be okay.
Right.
as both of you know, once it gets into September up north, I mean, the mornings can be a little chilly sometimes, so just dress accordingly. And but, you know, sometimes it's nice and warm, too. We don't know. We try to be prepared.
Well, I'll take a nice, cool or cold morning over this 98-degree temperature any day of the...
Every time, absolutely.
We were on one of our tours, and we were up in the Swiss mountains, and it was chilly. We were waking up many mornings to 3 or 4 Celsius. It would snow at night. The mountains looked amazing. People, they weren't complaining, but it was mentioned how cool it was. And it was all of a week later. Then we were into Italy, and we had hit the heat, and it was closer to 30 Celsius. And I said to people, so anybody want to go back to those cold mountains? Everybody, yeah.
We've had a number of rides that start with heated gear and end with vented gear.
Well, that's when I first started buying heated gear, because around here with Lake Superior, you never know. And so many times we used to go to Brainerd Raceways to see the motorcycle races, and you go there, it'd be 80, 90 degrees on the way there. On the way back, it'd be down to, we've seen into the 40s. Like you can't dress for that. You can't acclimate to that in 4 hours, for God's sakes. And that's, I thought, this is ridiculous. So I started buying heated gear.
It's wonderful, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure. And it saves space. I don't have to pack 3 bulky sweaters or whatever. Just
right.
Put it on,
no layers. Don't need them.
Yeah. I drove home one time in the rain in 40-something degree temperature, 40 Fahrenheit, and pouring rain. And I had my heated vest for the first time up past halfway my heated jacket, because it was bloody cold. And really thankful for heated grips.
Yeah, that could be the worst, rain and cold.
Yeah, I always say I don't mind the heat. I don't mind the cold. I don't mind the rain. I really don't like the cold rain.
Yeah, me too.
Yep. But if all we ever did was drive cars, we'd never know and never care.
No, that's right.
That's right. Plus, you always tell the story of coming home in the 40s in the rain.
Oh, for sure.
And everybody looks and says, oh, was that the first time? You just figured that out?
Yeah.
Great chatting with you, Rob and Mike. I enjoyed it quite a bit.
We definitely enjoyed having you here. Thank you so much for your time, and we'll stay in touch, and I look forward to meeting you in September.
I would like that very much.
Cool.
Take care, guys.
All right. Ciao.